Welcome to The Ethical Advocate for Accidents.
Welcome to the Ethical Advocate for Accidents with attorney James K. Sadigh. For more than 35 years, James has represented injured Californians in personal injury, insurance claims, habitability matters, and wrongful termination cases, always with a focus on honesty, ethics, and real one-on-one attention. I'm Chelsea, and today we're talking about what to do in those first moments and days after an accident when everything feels overwhelming and confusing. Welcome, James.
Thank you.
When somebody has just been in an accident and they're still trying to process everything and what happened, what's the very first thing that you want them to pay attention to?
To themselves. While they're sitting in the car right after the accident, the most important thing is to make sure that you come in touch with your body. Make sure that you're okay, that you can actually move your fingers, your toes, your head, and if you feel slight pain or discomfort, do not push yourself. Some of these injuries may not show themselves right away, but with the wrong move, you may actually hurt yourself more. The most important thing is to take care of yourself. Everything else can be taken care of later. Once you feel like you're safe, then you want to unbuckle your seatbelt and try to move out of the vehicle and keep a safe distance. Because if the accident is a harsh accident, you have no idea what the electronics and or other mechanical devices in the car may cause other situations.
Hmm. People often say things at the scene without even thinking, like apologizing, downplaying injuries, or just trying to be polite. So how can those comments come back later and actually create problems for you?
Well, apologizing always creates problems because the other side, whether it's an insurance investigator and or adjuster, or the defense attorney is trying to use those statements to say, see, you had a consciousness of guilt, and therefore you must have been at fault in the accident. You must have done something wrong. The best thing to do is to stay polite and calm, but never admit to anything. The only thing you want to do is exchange the information, which is your driver license, your insurance information, and the registration to your vehicle. Never discuss how the accident happened and nothing like that. Um, and if any kind of a help, like the fire department or medical emergency vehicles arrive, you can discuss your injuries, your pain, your discomfort, and that's the best thing to actually tell them that. But with the other driver and witnesses, if there are any witnesses, just exchange the information. Do not discuss how the accident went.
Okay. Some drivers want to keep it simple and skip calling the police. From your experience, what can go wrong when there's no official report?
Well, stories will change. That's what can go wrong. Uh, there have been many situations that, in a simple rear end accident, when the injured party was stopped at a red light and was rear ended or on a stop sign, all of a sudden, the story a week or two later was changed that, oh, this person was backing up into my vehicle. Or the color of the light was not red. He just slammed on his brake in order to create an accident. Things of that nature. So the best thing to do is to call the police to make sure that there is a report done. Of course, we have to all understand that this day and age, especially in Los Angeles County, calling the police to the scene of the accident is always a challenge because the first thing that the police wants to know is that if there are any grave injuries and or if the vehicles are inoperable, which a lot of times in the heat of the moment people realize that the vehicle is operable or there is no blood on the asphalt. So they say, no, I just feel a little pain. And most of the times that's what happens. So the only thing at that moment that can be done is that as soon as you are able and you make sure that your body is functional correctly, is to pull your cell phone, put it on the video, and start taking a video of the scene of the accidents, the vehicles, and if the other driver is available, of the driver, and hope that if the other driver turns around and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't see you," or something to that effect, so you would have his admission in record.
When it comes to medical care, a lot of people feel fine at first and try to just wait it out. Why is early evaluation so important, even for a seemingly minor injury?
A lot of major injuries starts with a minor symptoms, and people think that, oh, it's just a little pain and ache and it's going to go away. Or if I can't move my arm a little bit right now, it's because I have a whole muscle, so I'm going to put some ice on it or heat on it, and wait and see what happens next week. The problem with that is when you go to a doctor a week or 10 days after the accident, the argument for the insurance company and the other people on the other side would be that, well, you weren't hurt that bad, or that you ended up meeting a friend or another attorney who persuaded you to do this claim. So it's best that as soon as you feel anything out of ordinary in your body, even if it's a little pain in the neck or a lower back, have an evaluation. Don't wait more than a couple of days. Maybe you are right and it's something that is just a pulled muscle and they can take care of it right away by putting some ice on it or some movement. But what if it ended up being a pinched nerve or a disc injury that is not showing itself very well? It's best to be evaluated right away.
Evidence can disappear quickly. What kind of photos, videos, or details are most helpful for somebody to collect while they're at the scene, if it's safe to do so?
Well, I'm glad you said that when it's safe to do so. The most important thing, do not put yourself in danger. Uh, Thank God for the technology that we've had in the past few years through our cell phones, and most people have one. You can still take pictures, photos, and videotape even up to 10, 20 feet away from the vehicle, and it's going to be clear. So it's best that you take as many pictures from different sides of your car, the other vehicle, or vehicles who are involved in the accident. And if you can and you have enough batteries, put it on a videotape and videotape the movements of the people. A lot of times people move their vehicle from the scene of the accident before they exit the vehicle because they're in a highway or in a very busy intersection, and they feel like, as a good citizen, they want to leave the road open for the other vehicles who were not involved in the accident. That is okay. That is a safe thing to do, and it's part of the vehicle code to do that if it's safe to do so. But as soon as you do that, you want to make sure that you take picture of the entire vehicles and the people involved. And the best thing is also when you're exchanging information, rather than, I mean, in addition to writing down the other person's information, just take picture of their driver license, take picture of their license plate number and the insurance code. So those are the best type of the pictorial, if you want to say, evidence to have.
Very helpful. Not every accident is going to require hiring a lawyer, but some definitely do. What signs tell you that somebody should at least talk to an attorney before dealing with the insurance company?
Well, first sign is that if you really feel any kind of injuries, pain, or discomfort, because the insurance companies without a lawyer uh, will always make an argument that, oh, you know that the lawyer is going to take a big percentage out of the recovery for you, so here we're going to just reimburse your medical bills. Why don't we chip in an extra $500 for what you've gone through, or something like that, which is never enough. Second, if you have any doubt that the other person may change the story, or you don't know what the accident is all about, it never hurts just to pick up the phone, call an attorney, and say, "This is how my accident happened. This is how I feel. What do you think I should do?" And you listen to him or few other attorneys and make your decision. A lot of times, the good ethical attorney will tell you whether you need a lawyer or not for this.
Okay. And after an accident, people might start worrying about other things like missed work, doctor bills, and daily limitations that they're facing. What should they be documenting during those first days?
Everything. The best thing to do is put a piece of paper in front of you and start writing down in what occasions of the day you feel more pain or a different pain. If you cannot go to work, write down the day that you or the hours that you couldn't go to work or you had to cut from work early or call sick, and make sure that it's all documented. And then you, of course, want to tell the supervisor or the manager at work to always make, if to put something in writing to verify that you've been working for this employer for a while, what is your salary usually, and what days you've missed. And don't worry, even if your work does not deduct your sick days or anything like that, you still are entitled for the money for those things.
Mm.
Also, the type of pain that you experience is very important, because when you want to go to the doctor and they want to examine you and evaluate you, you want to give them a report of how you've been feeling the hours or the days before. In what occasions it's more, in what occasions it's less. It will help the doctor to evaluate you better, to know your injuries better, and at the same time indicated in his report what you reported to the doctor. So when at the end of the case somebody wants to evaluate what you went through and what is the value of your pain and suffering, they have a better documentations. The other thing is that if you have any kind of a visible injuries, dark mark, broken skin, blood vessels gone, any type of a thing, take pictures. Take
Mm.
pictures with the date. I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, I had a case where this 80-some-year-old man was crossing the street and was hit by a vehicle. He went through certain surgeries, and when the family contacted me, I asked the daughter, I said, when you visit your dad in the hospital every day or every few days, every couple of days, take pictures of his development in the hospital. Stand around his bed while you're talking or while the doctor is in there. When they take the cast off and they do anything like that, just take a few pictures, couple of pictures every few days. At the end of the third or fourth month, she had an album of all these pictures with the date for me. Well, my demand letter to the insurance company was very simple. Basically, a page and a half to say, this is how the accident happened. Here's the police report. Here's the medicals. I'm not even going to bother you with it, but I'm attaching an album of the development of what happened to my client in the past few months. And I want your policy rates. And I only gave them, I believe, if I remember correctly, 20 days. On the 19th day, I had a large six-figure check sitting on my desk because the adjuster said, you ready to go to trial with this thing? I said, yes, I am.
Wow.
So that's important.
These are all great tips. Many listeners might feel intimidated about reaching out to an attorney. What does the first conversation with you actually look like? And then what should they expect?
Well, when I get a phone call and somebody says, I've been involved in an accident, I want some information, the first thing I ask, how are you feeling? Are you okay? And that's one of the most important things, to make sure that the person is actually okay. If the person is not injured and he turns around to me and says, I'm okay, I just want to know about my car. I said, okay, fine. Tell me how the accident happened. I'll let you know how to sort it out yourself or whatever, and give them some tips. As far as knowing what to do, I usually spend about maybe 10 minutes on the phone when they call me. And I evaluate themselves and I give answer all of their questions and give them some tips. I never encourage them right away to come to me. Let me handle the case. Because at the same time that I like to evaluate the case, I like them to evaluate me. They have to feel comfortable. As a matter of fact, there has been occasions that I tell them, you may want to talk to a couple of other lawyers and see who you feel more connected and gives you the better understanding. Don't be intimidated to talk to lawyers. If a lawyer immediately says, I'm going to have my paralegal or whoever in my office to talk to you and get the information, we open the file, that's a red flag. You don't do that. You want to make sure that you have a connection with the lawyer. You have a chemistry with the lawyer. You feel comfortable with that person. Otherwise, you get into a partnership that is going to end up in a divorce real badly.
You gave us a lot of great tips for what to do as soon as an accident happens and in the days following. But if there's someone listening who maybe didn't handle the initial steps perfectly, for example, they didn't take photos or they said too much, what can still be done to protect their claim?
Well, every case is different. Um, that's usually when you cannot come to a resolution with the insurance company due to the lack of evidence on your part. Unfortunately, you may have to file a lawsuit. And during the lawsuit, there's a time frame that we call discovery. That's when you request documents from the other side, request statements from the other side, pictures, and all of those things to see what they have and what type of witnesses they have. And then, based on their evidence, you're going to start evaluating the matter. And sometimes, right through their evidence and pictures, you can find certain things. By way of example, I had a case that there was a red light dispute. Who ran the red light? And we didn't have pictures. My client was badly injured in the accident, and she was transported to the hospital right out of the vehicle, so she had no opportunity to take photos. During the discovery phase, we requested the photos that the other side had, and about 16 or 17 photos came in, and I started looking at it. And all of a sudden, in two of the photos, we realized that at no time, and this was an accident that happened in the middle of the night, the defendant's vehicle lights were on. And when they were taking the picture of the inside of the vehicle to show that the airbags had opened, it actually showed the indication that the switch was on and off. So therefore, in the middle of the night, this defendant was driving with her lights completely off, and therefore nobody could see her on an intersection. And that became an evidence for us to use against them and be able to resolve the case.
That's it for today's episode of The Ethical Advocate for Accidents with James K. Sadigh. If you've been injured and want clear ethical guidance from an attorney who will speak with you directly, visit jamesksadigh.com. JAMESKSADIGH.com to learn more. Thanks for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with someone who might need this information.
Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.